Hello students, a very warm good morning and welcome to your economics class. So students, if you all remember, in our last class we have studied about the causes and the consequences of excess demand. So by now we have already equipped ourselves with the knowledge of excess demand and deficient demand, along with the causes and consequences of both excess demand and deficient demand. So students, today we shall be discussing about the various corrective measures that can be adopted to solve the situation of excess demand and deficient demand. But before that, we shall recapitulate or we shall revise the concepts that we discussed in our last class. That means the causes and the consequences of excess demand. So students, there were many important causes or reasons behind the occurrence of excess demand. The first important cause is the increase in MPC. So MPC means the marginal propensity to consume. So what happens whenever there is a rise in the private consumption expenditure? Owing to this rise, people tend to spend greater on various goods and services. Their demand tend to increase. And with the rise in MPC, the MPS, that is the marginal propensity to save, tends to fall. So increase in MPC is one major cause of excess demand. The second important cause of excess demand is government expenditure. So students, as already explained, owing to the various commitments that the government makes to its public, the government is needed to make various developmental expenditures. The government is needed to spend on various developmental projects. So whenever there is a rise in government expenditure, there is a subsequent rise in the demand for goods and services, which leads to excess demand. The third important cause of excess demand is increase in private investment expenditure. So students, private investment expenditure increases whenever the people anticipate a higher return in the future, or whenever there is a fall in the rate of interest. So this higher expected return leads to a tendency, that means which leads to an increase in the private investment expenditure. On the other hand, a fall in the interest rate makes the people willing to take loans from the bank, and by using that loaned money they can make various investments. So students, because of higher expected returns and a fall in the interest rate, there is an increase in private investment expenditure, which causes demand to become more, thereby leading to excess demand. The next important cause of excess demand is reduction in taxes. Reduction in taxes basically means increase in the disposable income with the people, right? So with the rise in the disposable income, people's demand for goods and services also increases, because now they have more money with them. So this means they can avail greater services, they can avail more goods. So this leads to a rise in the demand, thereby causing excess demand. Another important cause of excess demand is fall in imports. So students, whenever what happens, the price of domestic goods is cheaper as compared to the international prices, the people belonging to the rest of the world, they prefer to buy goods from our country. So what happens? This leads to a fall in the imports as well as a rise in the export. So the main idea is, if the domestic prices are cheaper in comparison to the international prices, people of our country will prefer to buy the domestic products. So this will lead to a fall in import. On the other hand, students, the people belonging to other country will also prefer to buy goods from our country, and this will lead to a rise in exports. So both these reasons, fall in imports and rise in exports, will generate demand for our goods and services, which will cause excess demand. So students, these were the important causes of excess demand. We also discussed the consequences of excess demand. So the four major consequences of excess demand were, the first one is inflationary gap. Inflationary gap is a gap which is caused by excess demand. It is basically the gap between the planned aggregate demand and the full employment aggregate demand. So what happens when the planned aggregate demand is more than the full employment aggregate demand? It creates pressure on the existing resources to produce more output, and this pressure generates a rise in the wages. That means the wages that are supposed to be given to these resources increases, and with the rise in the wages, the producers have to increase the prices of the goods. So increase in the prices of the goods leads to inflation, and Keynes considered this inflation as the inflationary gap. This situation was considered as inflationary gap. The second important consequence is static GDP. So students, we all know that since the resources are already fully utilized in case of excess demand, which means that there is no scope of increasing the output. So this leads to static GDP. So students, what happens because of inflation taking place in the economy? The nominal GDP increases. That means the price level of the output, the price level of the goods and services increases. But since the resources are fixed, the resources are already fully utilized, the output level in the economy remains constant, which means that the real GDP remains constant or static. And while we are referring to static GDP, it means we are talking about the real GDP and not the nominal GDP. The third important consequence of excess demand is wage price spiral. So this is basically a cycle which operates in the following way. Increase in demand or excess demand in the economy generates pressure on the resources to produce more output. This pressure leads to a rise in the wage level. Increase in the wage level leads to a rise in the cost of production. So to bear this increased cost of production, the producers also increase the prices of the goods and services. This increase in the prices of goods and services leads to an increase in the cost of living, and this increased cost of living once again leads to a rise in the wages. So this is a cycle which goes on and on. The increase in wages leads to an increase in price, and the increase in price again leads to an increase in the wages. The fourth important consequence is loss of profit. So students, during the situation of excess demand, since the resources have already achieved their full capacity, that means the producers cannot meet the unfulfilled demand of the people. There is some amount of demand which is left unfulfilled because of the fact that the resources are already fully utilized. So this means that even though there is excess demand in the economy, the producers cannot respond to that excess demand because there is no resource left in the economy that could be utilized to generate more output. So because of this, the producers they suffer a situation where there is loss of profit. They cannot achieve the profit that they want to. So these are basically the consequences or the after effects of excess demand. So students, let us now discuss the various measures or the various corrective measures that can be adopted to solve the situations of both excess demand and deficient demand. So students, the various corrective measures are classified into two categories. One is the fiscal measures or the fiscal policies, and the other one is the monetary measures or the monetary policies. So fiscal measures are basically the measures which are adopted by the government. So fiscal measures mostly includes the revenue or expenditure policies of the government. Fiscal measures include measures such as government spending, framing of the budget, taxation policies, borrowings made by the government from the public, as well as the borrowings made by the government from the RBI. So since the fiscal measures or the fiscal policies basically includes the government's measures, so that is why these measures are also known as budgetary policy of the government. So these are the strategies that are adopted by the government related to their expenditure, related to their spending. So these policies are framed by none other than the government. Monetary policy or measures. So students, this is something which we have already studied. So students, while we studied about the various instruments of credit control, we came across the monetary policies, right? So monetary policies are the ones which are adopted by the RBI. Unlike the fiscal policies, the monetary policies do not relate to the government spending or government expenditure. Rather, these are the tools or various instruments which are developed by the RBI with the sole objective of controlling the flow of money in the economy. So the monetary policies or measures include the various qualitative as well as the quantitative instruments of controlling money or controlling credit in the economy. So students, we already know about these monetary policies. What are these monetary policies? This thing we will discuss later on. Let us first discuss the fiscal policies. But before that, if I ask you what is the difference between fiscal policy and monetary policy, if a question comes like this type of question can come maximum for 3 marks. So if a question comes like this, you can simply write fiscal policies are the ones which are adopted by the government, whereas monetary policies are adopted by the RBI. Then you can write fiscal policies are related to the government spending, then government budgets, then government taxes, public borrowings, etc. Whereas monetary policies include repo rate, reverse repo rate, bank rate, then moral suasion, rationing of credit, etc. etc. So students, this is the primary difference between fiscal policy and monetary policy. So let us now analyze the various fiscal policies. So the first important fiscal policy that can be adopted by the government to solve the situation of excess or deficient demand is government spending. So we have already come to know that the government undertakes various expenditure, the government undertakes various developmental projects for the welfare of the people. So this government spending is one of the principal component of fiscal policy. So students, what happens during the situation of excess demand? The government responds to this situation of excess demand by reducing its spending. So what happens during the situation of excess demand? Government spending is reduced, and when government spending is reduced, it means the demand for goods and services is also reduced. On the other hand, students, during the situation of deficient demand, government spending is increased. So when there is an increase in government spending, this will lead to a greater inflow of money in the economy, because the government will have to spend money, right, to undertake the various developmental projects. So in that process, money will be injected in the economy and the situation of deficient demand will be corrected. So these are the different ways through which government spending can respond to excess demand and deficient demand. The next important fiscal policy is taxes. That means the taxation policy. So students, the government can also revise its taxation policy in order to respond to the situation of excess demand or deficient demand. So what happens in case of excess demand? The government increases the percentage of tax that the public has to pay. So greater amount of taxation means the people are left with lesser amount of disposable income. and when they have lesser amount of disposable income, it brings the situation of excess demand under control. So if they are left with lesser amount of disposable income, that means their demand for goods and services will also reduce, right? So this is done in order to correct or to solve the situation of excess demand. On the contrary, students, to solve the situation of deficient demand, the rate of tax or the amount of money that the people have to pay as tax is reduced, so that people are left with more amount of disposable income. More amount of disposable income means greater demand for goods and services, which will help to tackle the situation of deficient demand. So taxation is another important fiscal policy. The next important fiscal policy is public borrowings or public debt. So students, the government resort to public borrowing by selling of securities. The government doesn't go to people's houses to borrow money. The government sell their securities to the public and raise fund from that. So this is one way of public borrowing, selling of securities. So what happens, students? Whenever there is deficient demand, the government reduces its borrowing from the public, and this reduction in the borrowing means the people are left with more amount of money in their hands, which means they can use their money for buying more goods and services. This will lead to a rise in demand, which will help to solve the situation of deficient demand. On the other hand, students, during the situation of excess demand, the government raises the amount of public borrowing by offering attractive rates of interest. That means the government introduces very attractive rates of interest so that the people are attracted towards investing their money in various securities. And the more the people invest in securities, the lesser will be their demand for goods and services. And so in this way, excess demand will be under control. So this is how public borrowings can be used to correct the situation of excess demand or deficient demand. The next important fiscal policy is the borrowings from the RBI. Yes, students, the government not only borrows from the public, but it also borrows from the RBI. So what happens? It is also another important fiscal measure that is adopted by the government to tackle the situation of excess demand and deficient demand. So students, higher borrowing by the government leads to greater liquidity that help us to fight deflationary gap. So if the government borrows more amount of money from the from the RBI, then what will happen? The government will have more amount of money in their hands. So more amount of money means government's expenditure will also increase. So increase in government expenditure will release greater liquidity in the economy, and this will help to tackle the situation of deficient demand or deflationary gap. On the contrary, if the government want to solve the situation of excess demand or inflationary gap, the government will reduce its borrowing from the RBI. When the government will reduce its borrowing from RBI, government will be left with lesser amount of money, so that it won't be able to make more amount of expenditures. So the situation of excess demand will be under control because the government's expenditure will be reduced, and reduced expenditure means reduced demand for goods and services. So the situation of excess demand can be brought to control in this way. So the next important fiscal policy is the borrowings from the RBI. So students, we have come across the various fiscal policies that are adopted by the government to correct the situation of excess demand and deficient demand. So the various fiscal policies are government spending, taxation policies, then public borrowings and borrowings of the government from the RBI. Let us now analyze the various monetary policies. We have already come to know about the various monetary policies while studying about the credit control instruments. Then what should we do? We should let's just recapitulate the various important credit control instruments. So this means that these monetary policies are which are used for correcting the situation of excess demand or deficient demand are the same policies that are used to control the flow of credit in the economy. So students, the first important monetary policy that is adopted by the Reserve Bank of India is the bank rate or the repo rate. So bank rate or the repo rate is the rate at which the commercial banks borrow money from the RBI. The only difference between these two rates is that while the bank rate refers to the rate which is applied when the loan is taken for a longer period of time, and repo rate is the rate which is applied when the loan is taken for a shorter period of time. So students, during the situation of excess demand, both these rates, that means bank rate and repo rate, are raised. The percentage of money that is to be given in the form of bank rate and repo rate is raised, so that the banks, the commercial banks, will feel reluctant to borrow money from the RBI. And if the commercial banks borrow lesser money, they will have lesser amount of money to create credit. Their credit creation capacity will be reduced, and lesser amount of credit creation means lesser amount of demand for goods and services. So students, in order to correct the situation of excess demand, the bank rate and the repo rate is raised. On the other hand, in order to solve the situation of deficient demand, the bank rate and the repo rate are lowered. So when this bank rate and repo rate are lowered, it means that the commercial banks will feel very happy to take loans from the Reserve Bank, because now they have to pay a very lesser amount of interest. So the commercial banks will take more amount of loans, and if the commercial banks take more amount of loan, it means they will be left with more amount of money to create credit. So this will increase the credit creation capacity of the commercial banks. And increased credit creation capacity means more amount of money will be circulated in the economy, which will lead to a situation of rise in demand, thereby solving the problem of deficient demand. Another important monetary policy, as we all know, is CRR, cash reserve ratio. So students, CRR is raised to lower the credit creation capacity of the banks. So students, during the situation of excess demand, this CRR, that is the cash reserve ratio, is raised. We all know that CRR and the credit creation capacity of the banks are inversely related. So when this CRR is raised, it means that the bank's credit creation capacity is lowered. And when the credit creation capacity is lowered, demand for goods and services will also be lowered. So this will put a check on the situation of excess demand. On the other hand, students, in order to correct the situation of deficient demand, this CRR is lowered. So what will happen if CRR is lowered? The credit creation capacity of the banks will increase and more amount of money will be circulated in the economy. This will lead to greater demand for goods and services, and the situation of deficient demand can be brought under control. Another important monetary policy is the reverse repo rate. So students, reverse repo rate is the rate at which the commercial banks keep their money as deposits with the Reserve Bank of India. So students, what happens in case of excess demand? This rate is increased so that the commercial banks will be willing to keep their money as deposits with RBI, because in that case they will be earning more amount of interest. So students, in order to curb the situation of excess demand, this reverse repo rate is increased so that the commercial banks will have an incentive to deposit more, and if they deposit more, their capacity to create credit will become reduced. So students, during the situation of excess demand, this reverse repo rate is increased. On the other hand, during the situation of deficient demand, this reverse repo rate is reduced. So when this reverse repo rate is reduced, the commercial banks will not have a tendency to keep their money as deposits with RBI. Rather, they will use that money to create credit. And if they use that money to create credit, there will be greater circulation of money in the economy, which will help to solve the problem of deficient demand. So in case of excess demand, the reverse repo rate is increased, and in case of deficient demand, the reverse repo rate is reduced. The next important fiscal measure is open market operations. It basically means the buying and selling of securities. So students, to curb the situation of excess demand, securities are sold by the RBI in the open market. And when these securities are sold by RBI, then what will happen? It will soak the liquidity from the economy. That means liquidity will be reduced, because if the RBI sells the securities, the government will buy the securities, and government will then have lesser amount of money with itself to make the various expenditures. On the other hand, in order to correct or to control the situation of deficient demand, what will happen? The Reserve Bank of India will buy the securities, and if it buys the securities, it will have to pay money, right? So while buying the securities, the RBI will have to pay money, and when it pays money, it will lead to the injection of liquidity in the economy. That means greater amount of liquidity will flow into the economy, and this will check or control the situation of deficient demand. So students, in case of excess demand, the Reserve Bank of India sells the securities, and in case of deficient demand, the Reserve Bank of India buys the securities. The next important fiscal measure is SLR, that is the statutory liquidity ratio. It is the percentage of liquid assets that the commercial banks are required to maintain with the RBI. So students, just like in the case of CRR, in the case of SLR also, it is raised in order to curb the situation of excess demand, and in order to curb the situation of deficient demand, the SLR is reduced. So basically SLR is the amount of liquid assets that the commercial banks are required to keep with the Reserve Bank, and during the time of excess demand, to control the situation of excess demand, the Reserve Bank of India raises the SLR so that the banks, more amount of money the bank will have to keep with the RBI, and on the contrary, during the situation of deficient demand, this SLR is reduced so that the commercial banks' credit creation capacity is not hampered. So students, so far we have discussed the quantitative instruments, but now we shall discuss the qualitative instruments, because we all know that monetary policy includes both quantitative as well as qualitative instruments. So bank rate, repo rate, reverse repo rate, open market operations, CRR, SLR, these are all quantitative instruments of monetary policy. But now we are going to discuss the qualitative measures. So the first qualitative measure is margin requirement. It is basically the difference between the value of the security offered and the amount of loan granted. Suppose I am taking a loan of rupees 50 lakh. For that I am keeping my property as a mortgage with the bank, which is worth rupees 80 lakh. So the margin requirement will be 80 lakh minus 50 lakh equals to 30 lakh. So students, in order to control the situation of excess demand, this margin requirement is raised. That means the commercial banks are required to have a greater margin in order to provide loan to the public. This is mainly done in order to control the situation of excess demand, because if more margin is required, the people will be reluctant to take loan. So if they are reluctant to take loan, their demand for goods and services will also come under control. That means they will be left with lesser amount of money. So students, during the situation of excess demand, this margin is raised. But during the situation of deficient demand, this margin is reduced, so that people come up to take more and more loans, so that people have the incentive, so that people are encouraged to take more loans. And if they take more loans, they will be able to purchase more goods and services. There will be greater demand for goods and services, and deficient demand can be under control. So students, during the situation of excess demand, this margin is raised, and during the situation of deficient demand, this margin is reduced. The next important monetary policy or qualitative monetary policy is moral suasion. It is nothing but advising or exerting some kind of pressure by the RBI to the commercial banks. So during the situation of excess demand, the Reserve Bank of India advises the commercial banks to be strict or to be selective in lending out to the public, so that the situation of excess demand can be brought under control. But during the situation of deficient demand, the commercial banks are advised to be liberal and not to be so strict in their lending policies, so that greater amount of money can be released into the economy. So students, during the situation of excess demand, the commercial banks are advised to be strict and selective in their lending policies, while during the situation of deficient demand, the commercial banks are advised to be liberal in their lending policies. The last important monetary policy, or the last important qualitative monetary policy, is credit rationing. So credit rationing means fixing of a credit quota. That means fixing of the upper limit up to which a bank can grant loan to the public. So students, during the situation of excess demand, a very strict credit quota is fixed, and the banks are supposed to follow this credit quota in a very strict manner. Okay, because in the situation of excess demand, there is excessive flow of money in the economy, so the banks needs to be very strict in prescribing or in deciding the credit quotas. While during the situation of deficient demand, if there is any credit quota, then that credit quota is withdrawn or it is relaxed, so that the people can take more and more loans, so that there will be greater inflow of money in the economy, which will help to correct or to solve the situation of deficient demand. So students, in case of excess demand, strict credit quotas are fixed, and in case of deficient demand, if there is any credit quota, then that credit quota is withdrawn or removed. So students, today we started our class by doing a recapitulation of the previous class. We discussed about the causes and the consequences of excess demand, and then we went on to analyze the various measures that can be taken to correct the situation of excess and deficient demand. We came across two categories of measures: the fiscal measures and the monetary measures. The fiscal measures are the ones which are adopted by the government, whereas the monetary measures are adopted by the RBI. Fiscal measures include government spending, taxes, then budgetary policies, etc., etc. Whereas the monetary measures include reverse repo rate, bank rate, CRR, SLR, credit rationing, moral suasion, open market operations, margin requirement, etc., etc. So students, this is all about the corrective measures. We have almost completed the concepts of excess demand and deficient demand. In case you have any doubt, please let me know. You can call me or you can message me. You can raise your doubts. I will be more than happy to help you all clear your doubts. So students, on this note, we are going to end today's class here. Have a nice day. Thank you and stay safe.